So, 8th grade. This is going to be connecting some things that we've done the past few class periods. And your directions today are going to be pretty basic. It's going to say solve the equation. Now, we've been solving equations pretty much all year long. But when we look at an equation like this, x squared plus 11x plus 18 equals 0, the first thing we're going to have to do is factor the trinomial like we did yesterday. So we're going to end up with x and x. And then I'm going to say, okay, I need two numbers multiplied together that equal a positive 18, and those same two numbers added together have to equal a positive 11. So they're both positives, so I can be confident that both of those are going to be positives. Then I'm thinking, okay, what two numbers multiplied together equal 18 and then added together equal 11? Well, without too much difficulty, I know that those two numbers are going to be 2 and 9. Because 2 times 9 is 18, 2 plus 9 is 11. Now I need to solve for x. Now I know I have a multiplication problem, x plus 2 being multiplied by x plus 9, and that equals 0. And since one of these numbers has to be 0, for the product to be 0, I know that I can have x plus 2 equals 0, and if x plus 2 equals 0, x, x must equal negative 2. And if x plus 9 is equal to 0, then x must equal negative 9, which means my final answer for this one would be x can equal negative 2 or x can equal negative 9. And I can plug either of those values, negative 2 or negative 9, for x, and this equation would be true. X squared plus 11x plus 18 equals 0. Now, so we go to our second example, x squared minus 6x plus 8 equals 0. So once again, I've got x. So I'm going to go x and x. Now, once again, I'm seeing, okay, I have a positive here, but I have a negative here. So the two numbers multiplied together have to be positive, which means they're either going to both be positive signs, addition signs down here, or they're both going to be negative signs, because I can't have one of each and this still be multiplied and be a plus 8. So the fact that this is a negative 6 tells me that I'm multiplying two negative numbers together to get a positive 8. Now I've got to think, okay, what two numbers multiplied together equal 8? What two numbers, and it has to be the same two numbers added together, equal 6? Well, I'm thinking, well, what equals 8? Well, 1 times 8 and 2 times 4. Well, logically, 2 plus 4 is going to equal 6. If I multiply a negative 2 times a negative 4, I get a positive 8. If I add a negative 2 and a negative 4, I get a negative 6. So now I got x minus 2 multiplied by x minus 4 equals 0. Well, so here we go again. X minus 2 can equal 0. And if x minus 2 equals 0, x must equal 2. But this could be the term that's 0, which means that x minus 4 also equals 0, which would mean that x equals 4, which means I can end up with x equals 2 or x equals 4. And that's what I would end up with. All right. Moving right along to our next example, y squared plus 2y, let's make that a little better, minus 15 equals 0. All right, well, first of all, I'm going to have to factor it like I did yesterday. Factor the trinomial. That's going to give me y here and y here for my y squared. Okay, now I have a negative 15, so I need two numbers multiplied together that equal negative 15. The fact that it equals a negative 15 tells me that one of the signs has to be positive and one of the signs has to be negative, because it's going to have to be a positive times a negative to get a negative answer. So now I'm looking for two numbers that multiplied together equal 15, negative 15, and those same two numbers added together equal a positive 2. Well, I've got to think of all the combinations that multiplied together equals 15. I could do 1 times 15. The other one that comes to mind is 3 times 5. And as far as whole numbers are concerned, those are the only two that are going to work. Well, 1 and 15 is not going to give me a difference of 2, so that's not going to work. So it's going to have to be 3 and 5. I know that 3 plus 2 equals 5, and 5 minus 3 equals 2. So some combination of 3 and 5 is going to leave me with a positive 2. So I've got to think, well, do I want a negative 3 times 5, or do I want a negative 5 times 3? Well, to make that work and to end up with positive 2, it would have to be negative 3 plus 5. Negative 3 plus 5 is what gives me a positive 2. So I would have to come over here and make my 3 negative, make my 5 positive. Now, I have to realize that that equals 0. But now I got to solve for y. Because it could be y plus 5 that equals 0. So if y plus 5 equals 0, y is going to be equal to negative 5 because I'm going to subtract 5 from both sides. But it could be, in this problem, that it's y minus 3 that equals 0. And if y minus 3 equals 0, then y must equal 3, which means that in this problem, y can be equal to negative 5. It can also be equal to 3. Now, let's clear ourselves a little space here and go to this next example. Let's get some separation here. X squared plus 3x equals 18. Now, up to this point, we've had everything equaling 0. Now we've got something that looks a little different where x squared plus 3x equals 18. Don't stress. Don't panic. Take a deep breath. Life is good. This can be handled. All I have to do is rewrite this equation as one like what was up here in the first two examples I did. I need to get it so it looks something like this. Well, how do I do that? Well, I can see, well, I've got 18 over here, and what I want over here is 0. So to get 0, I'm going to have to subtract 18 from both sides, which means that I'm going to end up with x squared plus 3x, and I'm going to subtract 18 from both sides, so I've got to put a minus 18 over here. And then if I'm subtracting 18 from this side, that gives me 0. I'm going to come over here, I'm going to subtract 18 from the x squared plus 3x, and then when I do 18 minus 18, it equals 0. I've subtracted 18 from both sides. Now I just need to factor it. There's my x squared, so it's going to be x and x. And now, once again, I'm looking for two numbers multiplied together equal a negative 18, added together equal a positive 3. Well, I got to think about my combinations that can equal 18. Could be 2 times 9, could be 18 times 1, could be 6 times 3. And as far as whole numbers, I am not thinking of any more combinations of numbers multiplied together that equal 18. So I'm thinking, okay, now which of these gives me 3? Which of these is going to be 3 apart, where I can do the adding and subtracting and get 3? Well, 2 and 9 is a difference of 7, so that's not going to work. 18 and 1, well, they're not even close to each other. That's not going to work. But when I look at 6 times 3, I know that 6 minus 3 is 3, and that 3 plus 3 equals 6. So that's my combination. All right, now once again, I'm ending up with a negative 18, which means when I'm multiplying, one of the numbers has to be positive and one of the numbers has to be negative. Okay, so now the question is, what's it going to be? Is it a negative 6 times 3, or is it a negative 3 times 6? I've got to look and see, well, which of these options gives me, when I add them, positive 3? Well, negative 6 plus 3 equals negative 3, so that's not going to work. Negative 3 plus 6, when I punch that into my calculator, that equals 3, or a positive 3. So my two numbers are negative 3 and positive 6. So it's x plus 6 and x minus 3. But now I need to solve it to make it all equal 0. If x plus 6 equals 0, then x must be equal to negative 6. If x minus 3 equals 0, then x must be equal to 3. Because here I'm subtracting 6 from both sides, and 0 minus 6 is negative 6. Here I'm going to add 3 to both sides to isolate x, which means x is equal to 3. Which means my final answer is x is equal to negative 6, or x is equal to 3. Now let's look at one more. This one here now looks a little bit different, even more. But once again, no need to panic, no need to get all Twitter-pated, okay? Let's just kind of relax and see what's happening. Well, first of all, I know I need to make one of the sides 0, because I want to have something with b squared, and then the 8b, and then I need to combine the 5 and the 10 to see what's happening. So let's see what's going on. So, first of all, I want to make 0, so I can think, okay, I'm going to add 10 to both sides. That's going to give me 0. And when I add 10 here, that's going to give me 15. But then when I subtract 8b from both sides, that's going to leave me 0 over here. Because remember what I want. I need it ultimately to equal 0. So I want to take them from both sides. Which means I need to come over here, though, and subtract 8b. Because if I'm going to add 10 to here to get 0, I've got to add 10 over here. 5 plus 10 is 15. If I'm going to subtract 8b from both sides to get 0, I better come over here and subtract 8b, which means I end up with b squared minus 8b plus 15 equals 10. This should work. All right, so now I just factor it. B and B. I need two numbers that multiplied together equal a positive 15. When I add those same two numbers together, I get a negative 8. So I have to think, since when I'm adding them, I need a negative 8, common logic should tell me that I'm going to need to have two negative numbers. Because it's a negative and a negative that makes it a positive. So this either has to be a negative and a negative or a positive and a positive. But I have to get a negative answer when I add. And I'm not going to get a negative answer when I add if these are both positive. So they both have to be negative. Now I've got to think, okay, what numbers multiplied together equal 15? Well, I could do 1 times 15. I could do 3 times 5. And I've got to think, okay, how can those be added together to still get 8? Well, if I have negative 1 plus negative 15, because I know they're both going to be negative, that's going to give me negative 16. But when I do negative 3 plus a negative 5, that's going to equal negative 8. So I can say with a sense of confidence that what I want is b minus 3 and b minus 5. Well, if b minus 3 equals 0, then b must equal 3. And if b minus 5 equals 0, then b must be equal to 5, which means my final answer is going to be b can equal 3 or it can equal 5. And I can plug either one of those values in to this equation and it would be true. All right, thank you. Have a good day. I will be available to help with this assignment on Tuesday, April 21. Talk to you later, 8th graders.